Okay, thank you. Rick, why don't you go ahead and start, or whatever, Mr. Camp? Okay. Folks, good evening and welcome to the October 2013 Buncombe County Board of Education regular meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order and to let you know that we met at 3 o'clock this afternoon, where we had some discussion about some policy changes. We discussed a few items that are on the agenda, and we also talked a little bit about PE requirements and core curriculum. We met in closed session at 5:30, just finished up just a few minutes ago. And so the first thing that we'd like to do is present the colors. They're going to be presented tonight by the North Buncombe Junior ROTC program. So if you'd please stand.
Please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Coach. And cut. Colors, march. March.
If you'd remain standing and bow your heads for a moment of silence. Thank you, and please be seated. A little bit later on in the program, we'll have the availability for anyone in attendance to make public comment. If you wouldn't mind, over to your right-hand side near the back, there's a place for you to sign up for public comment. If you would please do so, we would appreciate it. And with that, we're going to move on to the approval of the agenda. We're going to ask the Irwin High School intent to purchase fire alarm system on the consent agenda will be removed, and the Owen High School request to change banks be moved to the action agenda. Are there any other changes? Also, we do have addendums to the personnel report and also to the student transfer and releases. So, any other changes? Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So, Dr. Baldwin.
Good evening, everyone. We had several of us in the room had an opportunity to hear an individual by the name of Clark Duncan, who is the marketing director for the Asheville Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development Coalition. And he presented to a number of school administrators here in the Western region actually yesterday He talked about economic development, those trends in Asheville and Buncombe County, and so I want to share a few of those thoughts that came through this particular presentation. You may or may not be aware, Buncombe County Schools is actually the second largest employer in western North Carolina, behind Memorial Mission, and I think just ahead of Ingalls Marketing. What we heard loud and clear from Mr. Duncan was that the number one concern of corporate companies when considering whether or not to come to Buncombe County was whether or not this location offered a quality of the workforce. And so thinking through that message, I think that's very important for us here in Buncombe County Schools, because along with our local colleges and universities, certainly our strong partners AB Tech and UNC Asheville, Buncombe County Schools plays a very major role in developing and enhancing job skills and the work ethic of potentially our future local workforce. And if we do the type of job that I believe we are very well capable of doing, we improve those chances that companies and those large companies will locate here and bring new jobs with them. For us, this also underscores a significant need and an opportunity to establish some very wonderful partnerships. Partnerships with such companies as GE Aviation. They are making currently a global impact in terms of producing jet engines. I don't know how many of you in the audience were aware of that. They are a huge player on the global scale. The company recently here invested over $200 million in state-of-the-art technology. So just think in terms of that partnership and what that might allow our students to be able to experience in the workplace. Through win-win business partnerships, our current students and the community benefit already with a number of these type partnerships and programs. You've heard us talk about the Biltmore Edge, that important internship with the Biltmore Company. Also Mission Possible, which I think has been a very successful program in the health sciences. Ms. Churchill, I think you've been involved in that to some degree. Building Future Builders, that's a joint venture with AB Tech that happened in the summer. And I think recently we talked about a very successful program called Students at Work, where we had last year over 750 of our middle school students in Buncombe County Schools had opportunities to go out and visit real workplace experiences. The need to build a quality workforce, it also underlines the importance of our new STEM high school. You may recall that one of the key non-negotiables that we talked about before this building would be open is that we have already established the strongest partnerships that we can with our local business community, especially in the areas of technology and advanced manufacturing. In North Carolina, there are currently 400,000 STEM-related jobs, and by 2020, there will be more than 70,000 additional jobs in the area of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. We also know, and I think this is important for parents to hear, that compared to the average wage earner in North Carolina, that particular job, average job, STEM-related work positions pay 64% higher than that average salary. The new STEM high school will prepare our students with the opportunity to collaborate and practice critical thinking skills in a very unique setting. And while they develop strengths in the STEM disciplines, corporations are and will be looking for our students. I want to commend our high schools. At the last meeting, our September board meeting, you heard me talk about our performance on the ACT exam. We actually exceeded the state average. We're very proud of that performance. And you may also be aware that last year represented the first year that all juniors across the state of North Carolina took that particular standardized test. I'm pleased to report tonight that we received our SAT performance results for 12-13, and we not only exceeded the state average, and that score, state average score is 1479, but we exceeded the national average at 1498. And I'm going to step out on a limb because I see a number of principals out there, and we love them all, but I do want to cite two particular high schools for their performance this past year, and that's Robertson and Reynolds. Both of those high schools, Robertson scored at 1635 and Reynolds scored at 1634. I don't think they could look on each other's paper, but you kind of wonder with a single point differential. They also had significant increases in the average scores over the past 3 years on their SAT. We actually, at Buncombe County Schools, had the third highest total mean score in the state among systems with 3 or more high schools. So we're very, very proud of that. As we've been reporting to you, there are many efforts taking place regarding safety in our schools. Enhancing that safety along with the new video security entrance systems that I think we've actually, Dr. Adele, I think we've completed all of those systems. They're in place in our schools and our elementary schools. We're now in the process of obtaining panic alarm systems, and those will be placed in all of the schools in Buncombe County. And what these alarm systems will do, they will be located in a central location, and they will be connected to the local law enforcement agency. In some cases, that could be the Asheville Police Department, in some cases, Buncombe County Sheriff, certainly Black Mountain Police Department, Weaverville Police Department will factor in there as well. We have 7 new school resource officers. In fact, had a chance to meet several of those this morning. Dr. Adele and I did. The 6 of those 7 will be serving our elementary school districts, and then 1 will be supporting our community high school. We've also been able to add 4 additional social workers. We think that's very important, and I want to thank the commissioners for providing the funding for that. That's going to increase our ability to identify and manage, especially some of the mental health issues that we're finding in some of our schools. On November 20th, I hope that you'll put this date on the calendar because we are going to be hosting a regional safe school symposium, and that'll take place from 9 o'clock till 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 9 o'clock in the morning till 2. The symposium is designed to provide the opportunity for school principals, safe school teams, law enforcement, fire personnel, first responders, mental health professionals, parents, and any other interested stakeholders to meet, to collaborate, and build relationships as we all try to work together to build safer schools. Information about this symposium is located on our website, our central site. Symposium is free. It is open to the entire public. All that we ask you to do is to go online and register. And to save on costs, want to send kudos out to our partners at Biltmore Baptist Church. They're providing the facility free, as well as a couple of other partners. That's Chick-fil-A and Atlanta Bread Company, because they're going to be donating the lunch and snacks for that. So we hope if you have time available that you can come out for at least a portion of that symposium. Had the opportunity to spend a day at Irwin High School last week, and I was pleased to report I sat in on a meeting where their safe school team combined with their school improvement team, they sat down and all they talked for about 2 hours was school safety, how to enhance school safety in that building. They actually looked at the entire campus plan. They went back and reviewed in terms of monitoring. They talked about possible ways to enhance the communication. In fact, I'm going to give Dr. Adele credit being an old middle school principal. And I had to think back because I only spent 1 year there. But he brought up the idea about how about whistles for staff members. And I hadn't heard that before. But I think we've got, I don't know how many whistles are heading to Irwin, along with additional 82 whistles, along with some additional walkie-talkies to help monitoring. But that really came about with some very good discussion with the faculty. In fact, the faculty actually met during planning periods. They also had some very good discussions and some very honest discussions about how can they enhance school safety inside their building. While the data remains unofficial, we do anticipate that there's going to be a decrease of about 25% fewer reportable offenses that are coming out of 2012-13. It is my personal belief that part of what we're starting to see is some real positive effects with a program called Positive Behavior Intervention. And we've initiated that in our elementary schools. I think it's alive and well there. It's really starting to get hold at the middle school level, and it's going to take some time before that we see the specific results in the high school. But I do think we're starting to see some impacts with that. That's a national model, and I want to recognize David Thompson because he has been such a strong proponent for that and is providing some wonderful training. All that said, I'm very proud in that we ask our staff out in our schools to be very diligent, and they do. If something is required to be reported, it's going to be reported. All that said, I think when we talk about school safety, we've got to touch the area of prevention because that's where it's all at. So those opportunities for positive behavior support and starting them, beginning in kindergarten and working them all the way through, that's where we really look at the heart of prevention. That's so important. And I continue to remind our elementary principals, continue to work with parents, just reminding them about pocket knives. It's hard to believe, but we have those elementary school students that may pick up Big Brother's or Big Sister's tiny pocket knife, and they don't think anything about bringing it to school. Of course, we're going to use some common sense with how we deal with that situation, but it's also a reportable offense. So we continue to work on the education piece. This month, I will be meeting with several advisory teams that we have created out of the superintendent's office. One is composed of parents and community leaders, and we're meeting later on this month. We also have an advisory group that comes in and made up of our classroom teachers. And the group I'll tell you, my favorite advisory group is made up of all students, high school students. So they will be scheduled late in the month to come in and just tell us really what they think of a lot of things, including the cafeteria food and the sports programs, and we hear all kinds of things from that group. You may also remember that we created a faith-based leadership council. I thought that was a very valuable component in terms of advisory. We'll also be getting them together in the very near future. Speaking of advisory councils, board, just please check your calendar. Make sure that you have the system-wide advisory council night. That's going to be at AC Reynolds High School on Tuesday, October 15th. All school advisory council members are urged to attend. Our focus this year is going to be a little different. We're going to focus on the efforts to promote a healthy lifestyle out in our schools. And we'll be featuring our child nutrition and our health and physical education programs. Board members will be helping facilitate the discussion by the districts that they represent. One way we're already working on an effort to ensure that all of our students, just as in all schools across the state, are receiving our required minimum of physical activity as stipulated by the Board of Education. So we'll be hearing more about that at our advisory meeting. Also, we'll be listening for all these updates from our child nutrition about how we have increased the healthy aspect of food that's being offered to our students. Want to check your calendar for 3 other events this Sunday afternoon. I hope you're at Inca High School. We have the annual Amazing Race that's sponsored by our Buncombe County School Foundation. This is Sunday, I think. Am I correct with my date?
Sunday.
Sunday.
It's on Sunday.
Sunday. Chairman Reinhardt's got to be there.
Not doing it this year.
I do understand. We heard from Ms. Atkins that they do have a record number of participants, so we're excited about that. Our foundation's also sponsoring a new event that is called Just Jazz, and it's to be a concert that will benefit our high school bands. That is on the evening of October 12th, and we have more information if you go to our district website. We have more specific information regarding the tickets. And then on Tuesday, October 22nd, First Baptist downtown, we have our all-county band performance. So, wow, October is a busy, busy month. That concludes my comments.
Thank you, Dr. Baldwin. Do we have any employees to recognize? Got a new face. Jason Rhodes is here in our communications department. He came from Henderson County.
I was with DPI last,
That's okay.
and then Henderson County, West Henderson High School.
Welcome.
Thank
Good to
you.
have you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So good evening to you, Superintendent Baldwin, members of the board, and like he said, I'm Jason Rhodes, and I'm the Assistant Communications Director, and I'm filling in for Jan Blunt tonight. I'm really happy to be part of the evening, and we'll start first with the recognitions. So first is Debbie Taylor, and she has been working for the state for 30 years. You can't tell it from looking at her. And she is at Owen High School. And when I asked her something that she remembered or was something special to her, she said it was really special to be back at her alma mater. And when I asked her if she was going to retire, she said, I ain't ready to go yet. So thank you, Debbie.
All 30 of them?
No, I started at Putnam.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you very much.
And up next is Lois Jones, who I did not meet, and I don't know if she's here. She is. And so you'll get put on the spot, asked about your favorite moment. And you're currently at Oakley Elementary School, and you're a Title I assistant, correct? And would you tell us one of your favorite moments, your favorite things about the job?
Well, I retired from full-time teaching to help take care of my parents. And one of the things about being able to go back as a Title I teacher is I get to spend time with doing the very thing that I love the most, and that is seeing children really grow and reading. It's a delight.
That's great. And it warms the soul to English teacher's heart.
Does that say 40 years? 40 years. Have you been in different schools?
Well, I started teaching in 1969, and I taught 4 years at Hawk Creek before my first child was born. And back then, you had to retire or take a leave when you were pregnant. And so when I came back, I taught at Johnston for, well, I actually went to Asheville High for a short time. And I went to Johnston for 6 years. And they decided that I needed to be closer to my home. And I came to the real world school. And I've been teaching kindergarten and first grade there for a long time. And it's been my honor and my privilege to be part of Buncombe County Schools. I got all of my education in Buncombe County. I got my elementary, my high school, my college. It was all here in Buncombe County.
We got one more certificate, and he'll be after our next person. So for some more good news, I'd like to call to the front North Buncombe High School's principal, Jack Evans, and also North Buncombe's head baseball coach, Matthew Landreth. And Alex, you can come up as well. Mr. Evans will say a few words about senior Alex Destino and his experience playing on the USA national baseball team.
Hey, how you doing? Good to see you.
Chairman Reinhardt, Superintendent Baldwin, members of the board, members of the audience here. It is a pleasure for me to introduce you to Alex Destino. Alex won't talk about himself except his experience, so I'm going to talk about him a little bit. Alex was chosen out of basically every high schooler in the country, narrowed down to the final 20, and spent 2 weeks in Taiwan playing for the United States. He didn't just play for the United States, he brought home the gold for the United States for the 18 and under league. So that's a huge, huge accomplishment. What most people don't know is he's also a soccer player. He was, as a junior last year, he was Defensive Player of the Year in our conference as a soccer player. So he's quite an athlete. But that's not what I want to talk to you about. I can honestly say that I've been in this business 25 years, and I don't know that there's been another young man that I've had an experience that had more of an influence on me. As good as an athlete as he is, his character is even better. He's, as we would say in the mountain, he was raised right. Okay, he's got great parents, but he didn't start here. He started in L.A., but we had to, recover over that. Age 8, he came to us in North Buncombe. He's been with us the whole 4 years at North Buncombe High School, and he is an amazing young man. He walks the hall, even with these credits, walks the halls humble. He is a friend to his student body, and he is very well respected with it by his teachers. He's a fine young man. I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about his time in Taiwan. It was an experience, I think, and just I hope you enjoy him. He's one of the finest young men I've ever been involved with. He's a good dresser, too.
Hello, everybody. I'm Alex Destino from North Buncombe, and Mr. Evans, Coach Landers, two of the people I've became closest with. Mr. Evans for the last 4 years, being my principal, and Coach Landers, he's new, but I feel like he's been here for 4 years coaching me. Unbelievable guy. He's not even 10 years older than I am, and I'm learning things now that I've never learned in baseball, and we've not even started the season yet. And I go to North Buncombe, unbelievable place. I mean, would be nowhere without Mr. Evans. I mean, unbelievable guy. Coach Landers, he's going to take this place to whole new heights. I mean, he's not even 30 yet, so see what happens there. And but yeah, about our experience over there, it all started like Mr. Evans said. It was selection based from everywhere in the country because it's with the national team. But I remember it was last summer, and I got a message in the mail. And it invited me to Cary, North Carolina, which is about 4 hours. It's right outside Raleigh. And that's where the U.S. National Center is. That's where they play their national team games, and all of that is done. And it invited me out there to play with 144 of the top players in the country. And that was a huge, crazy experience because I not only got to stay there for a week, I got to live with a host family and meet another kid. And my roommate was from Chicago, so that was pretty fun to get to hang around somebody that's just another great baseball mind and an unbelievable player. And from that, the last day, we just scrimmaged and practiced the whole week, and the team was selected, and it was brought down from 144 to 40, and I was lucky enough to make that. And those kids, we had about a month off, and after that, we were flown out to Los Angeles, which is where I was born, which is pretty cool. So I got to go back there with a free plane ticket. But when we arrived there, it was about another week long, same scrimmage-based practices, and that was a lot different than Cary, because in Cary you had the Babe Ruth team, you had your American Legion team, and you represented all these little teams from all over the country that the little kids play for. But there we were all wearing USA, which was that's a whole different experience. And even though they weren't our jerseys, they were the Nike Dry Fit shirts, but they still said USA right across it. And I remember putting that on for the first time with my hat, not just goosebumps all over. And so after that, it was probably the most nervous I've ever been in my life, sitting in a room just like this, and with our coaches up front like everybody else, and they were calling out the team. And of course, I was one of the last names to be called. So I'm sitting there scratching holes in my chair, just waiting to hear my name. And I did, and it was an unbelievable experience knowing that not only was I going to make my family that proud, but Buncombe County, I mean the country, and that for that matter, and especially my high school and my peers up here. And that was an experience I can't really explain in words. But besides that, then it functioned and came through my head that I was going to go to Taiwan, which is a whole different experience. And before anything else came in, the 14-hour plane ride is what really struck in. But we got to fly in a big plane, and we had plenty of room. We couldn't understand anything, but the food was all right, and so the plane ride wasn't too bad. But we arrived on morning, and none of us knew what day it was because the dates, time changes, all of that. And we got there, and we found out our schedule, and we found out we played Cuba, which is the USA's, I don't know how familiar everybody is, that's like the Yankees, Red Sox, that's our rival. And it's an honor to play against any of these teams, but Cuba, which was unbelievable. We found out we had Cuba and Korea on the same day, which is a powerhouse. I mean, I don't know how many people they put in the MLB, but Korea is a baseball mecca. And we played them, Cuba at 9:30 in the morning and Korea at 9:30 at night. And so they were out for us. The people that scheduled everything, they were out for us, trying to do everything they can to lose because we were back-to-back world champions coming into this year. And so throughout pool play, we lost one game, and that was to Australia. And worldwide, we're the only country that you cannot be drafted at 16 years old to the major leagues. And they threw a kid against us who was in AA for the Mets, which is he's high up in the minor leagues. So we saw a major league pitcher. So didn't go too good, but to say the least, it didn't go too good. But it was, like I said, it was an honor playing against these guys. But we did lose to Australia 1-0. He was real good. But we went throughout pool play again. We didn't lose. We didn't come close to losing. We ruled, I think, Venezuela, which is that's a powerhouse, and one other team I can't think of. But we came in to our cross games, is what they call them, where you play a team from the other pool with a really good record to get into the championship game, and that was Cuba. And we got to play Cuba, and we beat them. I think it was 6-4, and we had a huge home run earlier in the game that put us ahead. And that was an unbelievable experience, not only beating Cuba, but they were the flashiest team I've ever played. And I thought it was unbelievable. And you see the big leaguers flipping it behind their back and all of that. They did the exact same thing. And they did it all in red baseball pants, which is the typical, that's what they wear against the United States just for to outclass us some way. But we did beat Cuba, which was an unbelievable win. And we found out we played Japan. We play them the game before and as well in the championship game. That's just how it worked out. They didn't lose the entire tournament up until that point. And I was lucky enough to pitch against them the game before the World Championship. That's how I was set in the rotation. And that was a huge advantage because the kid we threw in the championship game was almost an identical pitcher to me. He was left-handed, same velocity, same build. And so that gave us an idea of what to throw to them, what to not throw to them. And we ended up winning that game. I think it was 6-4 as well. And I was lucky enough to throw 6 innings in a beautiful stadium, beautiful pro stadium over there. And that was an unbelievable experience. And so we won that game, and we saw Japan. They didn't sit anybody. We got to see everybody that they had. And so we were really confident going into the next day. And so when we did get to the next day, we watched Miracle, the hockey movie with the United States team when they won it in 1980. And I remember the thing that came out to me most is when they won it and they were standing on the podium receiving their medals and their thing of flowers. And that just stuck with me. I was like, dang, that'd be pretty cool to be able to do that. And so the next day, indeed, we did go out and we beat Japan. I think it was 3-2, and we did it in fashion. We kept it close. I mean, it was up right until the end, and that made the dog pile even sweeter for that. And so when we won, we just like in Miracle, they lined us up on the big podium above everybody else, and we got our medals and our thing of roses. And it was an experience I can't put into words. And it honestly shaped me as a human, and not only as a baseball player, but just as a human, being surrounded by that much talent and seeing that much like humble ability in one place. And I have the medal. It's a little one, but they They didn't pay a whole lot for the. It's gold, but yeah, they keep sending and bugging me with emails for the my ring size. So we got one of those on the way, and hopefully they put the money in the nice big rings for us. But yeah, and then the biggest thing of the whole experience was coming back home and seeing how much support this county provided, especially with Mr. Evans and everybody just welcoming me with open arms, wanting to help me, get back on my feet in school. Because I did miss 2 weeks, and I'm not complaining, but I did miss 2 weeks of school, and he's made it unbelievably, just kept me on my feet, unbelievable getting back into it. Teachers at North Buncombe were unbelievable, and that's about it.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I did not there. I was put on the roster as a starting pitcher, left-handed pitcher, and outfield, so I hit as well.
Okay.
And I got probably about 14 at-bats there.
Okay.
So,
Congratulations.
thank you. If anybody else just wanted a quick question just about the experience, feel free. Hopefully I covered most of it, but it was just a different world going over there. Because also I didn't realize how blessed I am in the United States because everything's just given to us. But whenever you go over there and you go into the baseball field, their bathrooms, and you're looking around for the bathroom and it's in the floor. That was probably the biggest thing I had to get used to over there was having to look down at the stall, and it was cut out of the ground, so that was a little different. And then all the vendors on the side of the road with just animals that you've never thought about eating, just sitting right there for you to, ready for you to eat. But that's about everything. Thank you. Thank you.
By the way, Jack, I was born in Los Angeles also.
Oh, word? Well, that's all right.
Well, I'm the third. Oh, go ahead. Oh,
Oh yeah, my dad is right here, the cameraman.
I'll point out too, there's a trio of Angelinos, I guess, up here. I was too born in Los Angeles. Are you a Dodger fan?
No, I'm not. I'm a Yankees fan. You can blame him for that.
Okay. I did. Well, that's good. That's a good team too. I didn't want to know if it was appropriate to point out to the board there's a Dodgers-Braves playoff game at 8:37 tonight.
That's our goal.
All right. Congratulations. Thank you.
I'll take a vote. Was I right about tomorrow?
Okay. Next, we have Marta Garcia, a math coach here in Buncombe County, and Jennifer Reed, principal of Fairview Elementary School, to introduce our Buncombe County Outstanding Elementary Mathematics teacher.
Good evening. It is my honor to introduce Will Henry, our Buncombe County Elementary Math Teacher of the Year. Want to come up, Will? Will is an exceptional children intensive intervention teacher at Fairview Elementary. Will exemplifies the role of teacher leader both at the school level and the district level.
Good evening. I am Will's principal, Jennifer Reed, and I have the distinct honor, actually first to nominate him for this award and to hand it to him as well. And I want to tell you that Mr. Henry is one of the most remarkable teachers who I have ever seen in action. There are a lot of keys to his success, including his commitment to collaboration, not only with his fellow special education teachers, but regular education teachers as well. His commitment to holding the highest standards possible for his students, even though his students have some of the more severe roadblocks of any students in our school. He is always willing to better himself by attending professional development opportunities and applying new learning in his classroom. I think Mr. Henry would agree that one of the most favorite parts of his day is his second grade math inclusion class. He sees this time as a perfect opportunity to stretch our special education students to meet and, yes, even exceed grade level expectations. He is constantly collaborating with second grade teachers and using data to direct his daily instruction. I am very thankful that Mr. Henry is a teacher at Fairview Elementary, and I'm very proud of his accomplishments.
Will is one of those teachers who constantly searches out opportunities to become more knowledgeable about the learning and teaching of mathematics. His attempts at his school to bridge and build collaboration between special education and regular education teachers in the area of mathematics brought him to the recognition at the district level, and we quickly snatched him up as a teacher leader. He was asked to become part of our lead teacher group in math at the elementary level and to assist in the planning and facilitating of professional development across the district for both regular education and special education teachers in the area of mathematics. Will was the first EC teacher to join and assist in the planning and the implementation of our early numeracy grant here in Buncombe County, which is part of a research grant across the state. Will's efforts have spotlighted equity in mathematics, and his high expectations for himself, for his colleagues, and the students of Buncombe County Schools have made a lasting impact. Congratulations, Will.
Well, it sounds amazing when they put it that way, but but you know, I really do believe that all kids can learn, and not just mathematics, but in all things. And I appreciate so much support and so much knowledge, and thanks. And I'm proud of my kids and what we do at Buncombe County. So thanks, everybody.
Just a couple more things. I'd like to recognize our Buncombe County Teacher of the Year for 2013 and 2014, Terry Quick from Black Mountain Primary School. He was named the Teacher at the Teacher of the Year banquet on September 17th. He's not with us tonight, but you can read about his many accolades, and they are many, on our website or in the Asheville Citizen-Times. Terry's next step is an interview for the Regional Teacher of the Year, and that'll take place in a couple of weeks. And I also wanted to give a shout out to our recently named Principal of the Year from North Buncombe Elementary School, Andrew Peoples. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you for the next item on the agenda.
All right, thank you. All right, next on the agenda is our curriculum feature. Ms. Swanger.
Chairman Reinhardt, Superintendent Baldwin, board members, good evening. How many of you watch the Discovery Channel? Anybody see Shark Week? We watched the Megalodon story last weekend at my house. Well, we partner with the Discovery education side of the Discovery Channel, and we have fabulous resources that teachers are using and that we are increasing every day, and it really makes teaching all subjects exciting, but especially science and social studies. Teachers have access to video clips, lesson plans, all kinds of templates. Students can access at home, so a really cool thing in the Discovery Plus that we're going to tell you about, as well as we have a middle school program called Discovery Textbook, and it is a special program that Kay McLeod, our K-12 science specialist, is going to share with you this evening.
Good evening, Chairman Reinhardt, Dr. Baldwin, and members of the board and audience. I'm so happy to be here tonight to share our technology and science, especially focused on our middle school, because that is the group that has the Discovery Education Science Tech Book. It was just last September that you voted on the funding for the tech book for grades 6 through 8. A lot has happened since then. I want to thank you and many others for the support and help for our success in acquiring and implementing this exciting technology. Working together, we've accomplished a great deal. Last year, we had 20 days of on-site help from Discovery Education, including 2 full days of professional development for teachers in 2 areas: basic skills in using the program and its many assets, and also demonstrating centers-based inquiry lessons at each of the 6 through 8 schools. 2 people here tonight are instrumental in that work. Anna Strassner, who is the Educational Partnership Manager for Discovery Education, and our very own Discovery Education guru, Connie Mulligan. I would like to have them share a little bit about Discovery Education with you before I take you into our classrooms and share some of the assets of Discovery Education with you. So Anna, would you like to speak?
Good evening, everyone. And I promised brevity, and that's not usually my strong suit, but I will try. One of the things, and you did hear that we're part of the Discovery Communications, the Discovery Channel, but many years ago, well, really about 8 years ago, we had a leadership change that said, you know, we can be so much more than just a streaming service. We need to be intentional about our partnerships with our schools to help transform teaching and learning. And we know that it takes a lot more than just streaming videos. So as when I was introduced as a partnership manager, I really take that to heart. I feel like I belong in Buncombe County. I'm here. Yes, I do. I feel like I'm a part of the family here. I don't see myself in any type of sales role. It is a true partnership because we want to work with you, with your goals and visions, and help you get there. And I think that we have a good start going. We are making lots of strides, but we're not ready to stop yet. We've had a long-standing partnership with Buncombe County, and we plan on staying here for a very long time. And I plan on being here to see it through, to see your vision for transforming teaching and learning in all areas, not just science and social studies, but in all areas. I hope to see that it come to fruition. So thank you, thank you, thank you for allowing me to be a part of this wonderful community.
Let's go ahead and pull up. So I'm going to jump right into what's called Board Builder, and Board Builder is actually only available to students now, so I had to log in as a student.
It's going to be available in October-ish for teachers.
Okay, that's really good. If you're familiar with the program called Glogster that students use sometimes to make a presentation on, to save poster board, they can gather their materials and embed them into the program. That's going to begin to cost very soon, and so it's very nice that Discovery Education has gotten to the point where they're offering this Board Builder. And it's very creative for the students to use, and I learned a lot in the last few days. So we're going to start. With the first one on the left here. And if you want to enlarge that, yeah, is that large enough for y'all to see?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I'm focusing on Discovery Tech Book, but I'm also focusing on technology in general in science because it's such an important part of what we do. The first side, and what we're going to focus on first, is Discovery Education Science Tech Book, which is different than the Plus that Suzanne mentioned. And we're going to go ahead and click on that top piece right there. And it's going to bring up a brochure that I'm going to run through really quickly with you. Just if anybody wants this later, I can give it to you. It's beautifully done, and it has so many of the key phrases and headlines that we are accustomed to using here and things that we're focusing on in all our education, not just science. So it's not a textbook. It is a tech book that has many facets and assets that can be brought in and be used. So Discovery has inquiry, they have resources that nobody else has, and they have a user-friendly program for the teachers. So that's the power of 3. So it just describes those there. So, and then, of course, imagine a classroom without walls. When students are using this kind of discovery, you can go on to the next one. When they're using this kind of discovery, they're not just left with their classroom and a finite textbook. So they go on to do many other things that you'll see in my videos in a moment. And it's a big belief that all of science is based on good questions, and we use the 5 E's, which are highlighted throughout the program. They start out with engage and explore and extend and evaluate and explain, and they don't have to be in that particular order. And every one of the lessons is focused that way with critical thinking and communication skills, which we hear about all the time, critical thinking and communication skills. Core interactive text and many different appliances can be used for that. The scientific explanation, they have to give evidence to argue their points. That's part of the next generation science standards. An interactive glossary I'll show you later, where their words are explained and their vocabulary is explained in 3 different ways if they go to it in a very interactive way. A lot of hands-on exploration, hands-on lessons like gizmos, but somewhat different no matter what device. Time saving. Students learning more, if you'll focus on that and pull down just a little bit. We're about midway on that, and I know you probably can't read those words, but we're about halfway across and halfway up, which I think is pretty good in 2 years. So we're working on the science inquiry and getting the student center-based learning, inquiry learning going in the classrooms on a regular basis. And you can, that can just be pretty much, that's all of that. If any of you want that brochure, and you just go down, back. Okay, now another piece of technology that we use in conjunction with Discovery Education, because the teachers, as it was explained a while ago, can form lessons in those, and I'll show you one of those in a moment, is the gizmos. And they are an interactive program of simulations. They are research-based, they are award-winning, and the students love them. They kind of have a game-like kind of aspect to them, and they really have fun doing them, and the questions are very, very thought-provoking. They're critical thinking skills. When they finish those 5 questions, it shows them what they missed and didn't miss. So if you want to go down from that, if you want to click on the density lab, and it's not going to show this very long because I don't think I'm logged in, right? But if you want to click on, right, if you want to click on that, I'll show you what it looks like. Maybe, maybe not. Is it not going to come up on this one? Oh, it did this morning, but that's all right. The labs are very interactive, and the students can move materials around and change the variables and then answer the questions. And I'll show you an example of that in use in the next part. So if you'll go back to the board, please, this one. Oh, it's going to come up now. Now it's going to come up. Yeah, I do want to drive this a little bit because I want to show you what fun it is. It's set right now with a density of 1, which is where they start, and it has these objects, and this is really to help prepare them. You know, a lot of our testing is going to online testing where they have to manipulate and move things. Well, this is very comparable to that. So if they take this, and they have directions from their teacher and have practiced this before, but they are recording their data of the mass, and then they are told to drop it in here, and this, of course, is displacement for the volume. And then they do some other math part before they do this, but then they all want to play around and see whether it floats or sinks. And they have a bunch of mathematical calculations that they do and questions that they answer, not just playing around with it. I don't believe this shows you the assessments down here, but there are 5 really great questions that it does ask. And the fun part about this for an extension, can I get to that part here? Yeah, I can. If you change the density of this liquid, like we put this in here, if you have a student that needs an extension of some kind, they've already finished all the questions and they got them right, and you have other students that didn't. If you change the density of the liquid, you can see how it behaves differently. And actually, if your students are kind of talking and working through this, they could actually see if they could make it suspend. And in an exact suspension, they could get pretty close to the density of the object. And they could figure that out mathematically, and they also could figure it out by manipulating. But that's for your students that you might want to extend with. So it's a really great resource for us to have that blends well with the Discovery Education when the students are going around to different centers that I'll show you shortly. Another piece of technology that we use in Buncombe County, both at the high school and the middle school, are these lab quests. That's a lab quest too. We have one set of lab quests that's available here for the teachers to check out. We also have a partnership with the Science House who helps with the lab quests to go out, and several of the high schools have their own lab quests. And if you don't know about them, they have probes. That's a temperature probe showing there. But the students can gather data, and it actually will do graphing for them, and they can import it and export it in and out of their computers. They can put it on a zip drive. I can't tell you how many uses there are for the lab quest, which we're very happy to be getting going in our middle schools and our high schools. So that's some of the, I want to show you some of our students using it on the left-hand side there. If you can blow it up just a little bit. This is the students in Creek Week at Cane Creek Creek Week, which they do 3 weeks in a row with different teachers, and those students are using those LabQuest. I believe that's a flow rate meter. They're measuring the speed of the creek water going by. And another one, there's another picture down below or up above that where the student is doing some other kind of, right there. She has a different kind of probe, and they were using a lot of probeware, the LabQuest. On the right-hand side is another school, North Buncombe Middle School, they're solving a volcanic eruption problem using the LabQuest in there in Nathan Smith's class there. And both groups are doing that. They have different probes that they're using. So we have a lot of different resources here that are used in technology. And I'm going to tie all this together. Let me go back right here a second. If we look back at this, we have Discovery Education as our basic platform, as our tech book. We have the gizmos that we can bring into the lessons. And then the tech book, much like many of our other programs, allows our teachers to develop model lessons. And I have this blown up pretty big, so you won't be able to see all of it, but I did a workshop for some 6th grade teachers, and I just built these lessons using a lot of Discovery Education resources. And you can bring in from the Discovery Education, it matches their model lessons to our standards, not other standards. So you have lesson objectives, lesson essential questions, key vocabulary. And every time you see one of these words here, it's linked interactively with the Discovery Education, so it would bring up an ideal world, it would bring up what it was supposed to bring up. And you would have your interactive animation and video and image definition. So it's a really great interactive glossary. Thank you. And bilingual. Y'all add in wherever you want to add in. I know you can't read all this, but it has common misconceptions and all kinds, and then you get down to the 5 E's, setting up the program with different activities, hands-on activities. This one's for a whole class. And then the stations where the students can go around is another whole day with phases of the moon and a puzzle and an exploration. That's a really neat exploration in Discovery Education, and then a gizmo. And then an extension down here, a harder gizmo, a challenge gizmo. And then there are actually formative assessments and other kinds of assessments in their Moodle. So this is a big lesson. And the importance of this is Discovery Education and I have worked together to challenge all the middle schools to come up with, each grade level is being assigned one standard to develop their lesson around a unit around that standard, and then post it on the district site for review by teacher leaders and themselves, critique it, and then by the end of the year, as everybody teaches their units and develops their lesson units, we will have all the units posted for all the teachers to use, comparable to this. I've modeled it for them, and we're here to support them in getting it done and making sure it's really good quality. And that matches really nicely with our common assessments that we worked on and got done this summer. So that's the Buncombe County, it's called the Buncombe County Challenge, and I won't open that up to save time. Now, I did more than one board, and I know that you want to get on, but I have a lot to share, and I haven't been up here for many years, so I'm going to take my time when I can get it. This other one is what science is all about, because students learn by doing, experiential, engaged, relevant learning. And I'm going to show you a couple short videos here. The first one's just like 3 minutes. This is at Irwin Middle School class, and these are not posed. I asked the teachers, I sent out an email, and I said, if you'll please tell me what you're doing actively with Discovery Education in the next few weeks, I'll get out there and try to, Chris Crummy was really great to come and catch some of the video, and I caught some on my phone. You can tell the difference in quality. And so I'd like to share some of that with you and just have you quietly look, and I'll try not to comment too much, but I get too excited about seeing the students learning in this kind of 21st century way instead of having a teacher in front of the room telling them what to take notes on and answer back and what answers to give. So let me see if I can get this to come up really nicely.
I'm going to just throw in, it also
Please do.
shows the capability. One of the things that we all know is that we really need our students creating And that's what the board builder is for. So here could be their own creation put into this board. So it's not Discovery exclusive that can go on these boards, but anything that the students can bring in and create and put on their boards.
And it's very
just like
easy to
they
put it
did.
in. So, right, so the students are going to do their own videos. This is a video of the class that we saw, but they can make their own little video clips and insert them very easily as part of their presentation to the class. We like the noise here. We don't want it too loud, but a noisy room is an active room, and an active room is an engaged room. So that's what some classrooms are more tolerant of that noise than others, but I think it all sounds really great to me. You can't find the teacher. Most of the time you don't know where the teacher is. Usually if you're looking and there's a safety area, that's where they are, and that's where Miss Payne is in this 8th grade class at Irwin. If you'll look at the kids' faces, they're having fun. Before this segment right here, look at her face. They did write down some things. It was not just playing with the dry ice and the bubbles. This is a different group over here working on a different project, and you'll notice I didn't see, of course this is 8th grade students, but you don't see anybody playing around. I didn't see any clowning around, and I didn't see anybody with their head down. They're observing and writing and discussing. They're really just being little scientists. Or big scientists. You'll see Jacob. Jacob was in there somewhere observing that day as well. Almost every one of the Discovery lessons has one center that has a reading that the students read and have an activity to do with that reading passage.
Do all the middle schools have access to the ed tech books?
All middle schools have the science tech book, yes.
Okay.
Oh, the intermediate schools do too, all 6 through 8. So sometimes I call it middle grades. They all have access. And really with the center's approach, it just takes a few laptops to do that because you can have 2 or 4 at the most and still have a lot of other hands-on activities going with it. And it uses less materials, which is another real valuable thing. You see that one Thermo Fisher hot plate there is the safety kind, and it was donated last year, and I'm getting those out to the schools that need them for safety reasons. This is a Discovery education clip that these students are working on, and we provided the money last year for a lot of the schools to buy splitters so that several students could listen to a video at the same time with, you can plug, you see their headphones are all plugged into one little splitter that goes 4 different ways. You see where they're sharing, yes? Well, yes, this was Race to the Top funds, yes, and so were the gizmos.
It's a great way also to really maximize the technology that you've invested so much in.
It is.
That many students can benefit from it.
Right, and it's so nice that Discovery works with gizmos and back and forth because you can bring them in very easily. I just do a little link and the students are right there. This is true hands-on here. That's the whole purpose of that. Bad joke. All right. I just have a couple more clips here that I'd really like to show you. This is at Owen Middle School, and I'm just going to show this for 1 second. They're just all being really passive, but they're working really hard because the assignment right in there before you get to this one, that last class was working on a badge before they did their gizmo. They were going to do a gizmo, but I got there a little early. And this is an 8th grade class, the same school, using the gizmo that I showed you with the density. And you notice they're all pretty much working pretty hard. There's a lot of math involved with that, a lot of thinking involved with that. And you'll see this student right here using her phone as a calculator. And she was really happy to be able to use that. And then this student didn't have a calculator, didn't have her phone that day, so you can use a calculator she's looking for the calculator within the computer, and that girl had her own calculator. And this is in an 8th grade class where they're just beginning an engaged lesson that they're going to finish up the next day. It's a real short little clip, but it's on solar energy. And you see the LabQuest sitting there, and they're using the LabQuest, and they're going to use them even more the next day. And this was all impromptu. I mean, I'm just there, and that's what's going on. I didn't even know this was going on that day, and just went in and got a quick clip of it. So it's pretty exciting. Now we'll get down to a 6th grade, and you can see a little bit difference in the maturity of the students. But they're still pretty much on task and working by themselves without a teacher standing up over telling them everything to do. Do you want some? I don't know what it is. What? This one doesn't have sound. I think, I don't know, maybe. And they're taking a little Discovery Education quiz there. And they were able to use their foldables and their notebooks to answer that. And I encouraged all the teachers this year to make sure every middle school student had a science notebook. And the science notebooks and journals are just really important. There you finally see a teacher. They're usually helping the students. I tried to take the toilet paper off one of the desks early on because I thought it distracted from my video, and the student said, those are our materials. You can't move that. So they were using it for their placement of their planets in their scale model. They're not really that much quieter, but I didn't have the audio. And you see how they work together, and they use a lot of math in their science. And some of them move out to the hallway. And they used a lot of meter sticks. Okay, now I know you're ready for me to be through, but I'm going to run through 2 things really fast because I want you to get a real feel for I'm going to show you Creek Week again, and that is just the objective. They have a huge, wonderful, wonderful lesson plan that would put most high schools to shame. But I won't go into it, but you can see what all that are doing, and this is 8th grade visual, chemical, biological, and physical observations. And this will be some of the pictures. I showed you a few of them earlier, but they're measuring depth and width and speed. And there is Brad Smith, the 8th grade science teacher. This was his week. Isn't that precious? And this is a Dobson fly larvae, which shows that the creek is healthy. Certain macroinvertebrates show that, and so the students probably will come to that conclusion in their report. This is a screen to catch those macroinvertebrates. I guess he's working by himself. These students are gathering theirs together. They're gathering theirs together, only I really appreciate the gentleman in the back there because I'm a geologist, so he's got a whole big rock. You probably can't tell, but he's got a huge rock in his hand that he's looking at. More of the LabQuest being used here, measuring, doing science and being scientist, and you didn't see anybody like bored or not on task in that particular one. I'm going to show this really, really fast too. Let me see if I can get the right button. I'm so sorry. One of my 6th grade teachers from a workshop this summer took the next generation science standards, science practices, and made a poster out of them and shared them with all the teachers so they could put them in their room. And that's the next step that we're going to in science. And it kind of replaces the scientific method in a certain way, and it explains what inquiry is in a really nice way. So that just gives you an idea of what they are doing. And I won't go through this, and I know you can't read it from there, but this is the more complicated version of that Sam Houston shared with us at a STEM meeting last year. And the only thing I will point out is you see here at level 0, and this is for all our STEM schools, and anytime we're measuring STEM and the activity level, here if it's 0, if all the teachers are doing all the work, giving the topic, the question, the materials, the procedure, everything. And as we get up here, getting toward this, and that's what all those centers-based lessons are going on in our schools now with Discovery Tech Book, we're getting away from so much of the teacher doing everything and the students asking more of their questions and finding their own answers. That's the 5E model that we follow throughout Buncombe County schools. This is I'm sure you saw this on our webpage. It's for one of our sessions at one of the intermediate schools. These students were allowed to actually set up the experiment, and it was open enough that they got to set that up according to how they wanted to set it up. Another reading session, more activities. Oh, I have to go back one. I'm so sorry. One second. This young man, and these are not posed. This young man was reading so intently, and he was reading aloud, and they were following along just listening really nicely. They're doing it interactive. They're measuring. These are different labs at different schools. More discovery education, more notebooks, more, he got his chlorophyll in his notebook. Microscopes. This teacher uses it all over his room with everybody with a laptop using discovery education. When I went into this classroom, the student asked to use my phone, and he took my phone with the little camera hole and put it down on his microscope that he's using, the red-headed young gentleman there, and that's the picture that came through my phone of the cells that they were looking at. That's what it is, 5 E's. Thank you, I'm sorry it took so long.
Board, do you have any questions or
Science is alive and
comments?
well in Buncombe
Yes.
County.
I hope science is.
Ladies, thank you very much for that
you.
information.
I do have a few things too, this is just about what's going on in North Carolina with discovery education and kind of our philosophy behind trying to help transform. So if anyone's interested in kind of seeing what's going on around the state, this was made for the governor's office, and so I grabbed a few copies.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Next on the agenda is public comment. Do we have anyone signed up? Okay, first.
First is Mark W. Cates.
I'd like to remind everyone you have 3 minutes, and I'm the official timer. Mr. Cates? Mr. Cates? Okay, next.
Laura Bowen.
Hello, my name is Laura Bowen, and I would like to speak out against the action center that the North Carolina School Board Association would like to form. They have decided that this action center needs to be formed in order to have a stronger advocacy for school issues. And in order to fund this organization, they are asking each of the 115 school boards in the state of North Carolina to contribute, and they are anticipating getting $431,000 to start this action group. And I think that that's a lot of money for them to have startup funds. They're asking $6,000 from our county, which my understanding is that our county already pays $21,000 into the association, so that's like a 28% increase in funds that they're asking from our county. And I just think in these times where, you know, when I go to the grocery store and I see the prices are more this week than last week, I don't think that they should be asking for this kind of money. And I kind of did a rough estimate on what I think that their budget is, that they already are receiving from the school boards throughout the state of North Carolina. And it looks to me that they have about $1.5 million. And I would think that out of that kind of money, that they could find money to fund whoever they want to use as an advocate for school issues. And I would rather see that our school board keep that money here in the county, that I feel that our school board could use the money better than sending it off to the North Carolina School Board Association.
Thank you, Ms. Bowen.
Veronica Cattleman.
I'm Veronica Catterman. I have a daughter at Cane Creek Middle School, and I'm speaking out, or I'm asking to have the PE mandate, the physical education mandate, be revisited. Okay. I'm speaking on behalf of many parents that could not be here tonight due to extracurricular activities that their students or children may have. As parents of middle school children, we want integrity of process. Physical education is good, but as are the arts. We as parents want choice for our children, which we feel like the county has taken away by this mandate. By making it mandatory that each middle school child take 2 full semesters of physical education, this is going to cause our children to make a compromise. As I understand, the state requires 30 minutes daily of Energizer time. Buncombe County wants to add 45 minutes additionally daily, and we're not even talking about the 15-pound backpack that my daughter carries around at least 40 minutes a day. With this mandatory physical education program, it will force band students and honors course students alike, like my daughter, to give up their choice or the possibility of taking computer, robotics, art, Spanish, or pre-engineering. I was told by one of the board members that things like band could actually become extracurricular in the future. If this happens, it will force my child to give up something such as piano and gymnastics, which we already do after school. So I just ask that you please revisit this mandatory physical education program that we are going to be implementing partially this year and full-time next year.
Thank you, Ms. Catterman.
That's all I have to say.
Next goes Sandra Schwartz.
Hi, I also have a daughter at Cane Creek Middle, and I'm also asking you to revisit the physical education plan. Well, I understand that physical exercise is a benefit for health and emotional well-being. I am concerned about this new physical education policy. It is well known that different parts of our brain are stimulated while we learn and participate in different types of activities. When you add this to the fact that every time something new is learned, a new neural pathway is created between the different parts of the brain, it becomes very clear that it is important to have a diverse education that is not only rich in the basics of language and math, but also in art, music, and foreign languages. The more neural pathways there are between the brain centers, the faster one can process information, which improves a person's learning ability, and in turn, test scores. This is valuable for everyone, but essential for those within the ADHD and autism spectrum communities, whom studies have shown that there is less neural pathways between their brain centers, which slows their processing speed and hence their ability to learn. Coincidentally, these children also tend to be less coordinated than their peers, which makes PE very stressful for them. Forcing children to give up something they love, such as art, or beginning skills towards a chosen career path, such as engineering and computers, just so they can participate in an embarrassing physical activity isn't a healthy alternative. Limiting the choices of UAs for students too much won't benefit anyone. All I am asking is there's a compromise to be made so that our children can be well-rounded and healthy. Only requiring students to take 1 semester of PE per year, or perhaps allowing students who already take physical activities outside of school, such as taekwondo, gymnastics, dance, be able to opt out of in-school PE are both viable compromises that would better serve our community. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Schwartz.
Hello. I also have 2 kids in Cane Creek, and even though that this mandate of 2 semesters of PE will not be in effect till next year, my son had to make a choice. This year, he was taking 2 years of Spanish. He was planning to taking 3 years of Spanish as a high school credit, and continue with playing the trumpet. He loves the trumpet and he wanted to continue through high school. But because of this mandate, he has to make a conscious choice and say, well, I guess the high school credit is more beneficial. So it tore his heart, and he's depressed. He's going to bed at 7 o'clock. I'm trying to find something for him to do outside the school. And so I do ask you to please reconsider this mandate of physical education. I'm not against PE per se. I think it's important for everybody to participate in a physical activity, but I think there could be a happy medium where we could all meet and perhaps not make everybody happy, because that's kind of impossible, but do maybe take the 30-minute recommendation and allow for the electives to be there so the kid could have a choice. I thank you.
Thank you.
And Richard Doster.
Sir, how do you spell your last name? Sir?
Doster, D-O-S-T-E-R. Okay.
Thank you.
Superintendent Baldwin, Chairman Reinhardt, school board members, and the public. My name is Richard Doster. I'm over a 30-year-long resident of Buncombe County. Served on the T.C. Robertson Advisory Council with Tommy Kuntz back in the 80s. And I know a little bit about how the school system works. But first and foremost, the school board looks out for the children of Buncombe County. One thing has come to my attention recently, and many of you may know this, but the drugs in the school, how much of that information is made available to the public as far as what's going on? This year alone already, there's been a student passed out in class in the freshman academy at Robertson. And I've heard other stories, but that's one I know for sure. So I ask you, is there any accountability from the school board to report this to the public at large? Are these numbers being calculated, or are they being passed by? Second of all, at the recent tragedy 2 years ago at the athletic field at Robertson, a young boy died because of carelessness. I understand the school board enacted a policy that students would no longer operate Gator vehicles except in the ag curriculum. Is that correct? If that's the truth, then why was somebody in May observed a student operating a Gator vehicle in the baseball field vicinity? Where's the enforcement of the policy? Political Action Committee that's being considered a donation from our county funds, the $6,000 for the North Carolina School Board Association. Reviewing the minutes and the video from last month's meeting, Ms. Churchill mentioned we're on a slippery slope if we get involved with politics. And a $20 reimbursement for a training session was denied. You know, no big deal, $20. Why are we looking at $6,000 to contribute to a political action committee? I think we need some accountability before we release funds for something that I and probably many of the members of the public highly question. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Where's that coming from? Oh.
It's recording.
Okay. All right, moving on to our action agenda. The first item is to pick some delegates for the North Carolina School Board Association conference coming up in November. I would like to make a motion that our 4 delegates be Mr. Dusty Pless, Ms. Ann Franklin, Mr. Pat Bryant, and Ms. Lisa Baldwin.
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, very good. Next item on the agenda is the North Carolina School Board School Board's Action Center. We have been asked to join part of this Action Center. The amount that we would be requested to contribute would be $6,000. Do we have a motion to do so?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any questions or discussion?
Bob, are you not a part of that?
I am. I was going to see if anybody had any questions or discussion. I'll be glad to. Yeah. I was asked to serve on as a member of the board of directors for the action committee. We actually met in July to form, and just to kind of give you a little bit of background information, the necessity for forming this separate organization was the North Carolina School Board Association was formed under a 501c3, and with the federal tax code, there's a limit on the amount of money as a percentage of the budget that the North Carolina School Board Association could spend for advocacy and grassroots activity. So in very similar fashion to what the National School Board Association has done, they formed a 501c4, which allows for more flexibility, which will help. One thing that we're not going to be doing is endorsing candidates. The primary role for the Action Center will be to help advocate the North Carolina School Board Association legislative agenda that we vote on each year at the North Carolina School Board Association. It's voted on. The School Board Association has a legislative committee that puts together a list of things that we feel are important. I've served on the committee in the past, the legislative committee. Mr. Bryant has served a couple of years ago on that legislative committee. All those things are discussed and they're brought to the full North Carolina School Board Association. So the only things that we would be advocating for would be the things that are established by the North Carolina School Board Association and voted on, which the 4 candidates that we just approved will be voting on this year's legislative agenda. The size of the contribution is based upon the size of the school system, the largest amount being $10,000 per system, and I can't remember what the lowest amount is. I think it's $1,000. $2,000. Okay, yeah. And we really have not, we're just starting. Really haven't put a plan together yet as far as exactly, the types of things that we're going to be doing. But it will be involving looking at hiring additional lobbyists to help with our legislative agenda. Just to kind of give you a rough idea, the League of Municipalities has 9 full-time lobbyists. The County Commissioners Association has 5 full-time lobbyists, and we have 1 full-time lobbyist. And so that's something that we're looking at establishing, and also, social media interaction with the media, and trying to inform the public a little bit more about what's happening with the school board systems. And I think it's important that we participate. I, for one, am willing to forego any reimbursements for trips and meals, mileage, things like that, to help so that we can pay for this without spending additional monies that we're already spending. I think that through some sacrifice through the board, maybe if we look at maybe not going to the National School Board Association convention this year, we can certainly save several thousands of dollars in doing that. And this is something that if we don't feel like we're getting our money's worth after a year, we can certainly withdraw from it. It's not something that once we sign up, we have to keep doing. I've actually talked to some businesses that are interested in trying to help us pay for part of this so that we can reduce the effect on our budget. I actually have one business that said they'd be willing to donate $500 to go towards this. I talked with another gentleman that said he may be interested in donating $300 to help go towards this. I think it's a well well worth the money. I think it will be, we've had some cuts to our budget, our per pupil expenditures, and so I think it's important that we increase our lobbying efforts in the General Assembly.
Well, I guess I have to disagree. I don't feel that this new organization would be beneficial to local school boards. As you said, we already have a lobbyist. The North Carolina School Board Association is a 501c3 organization. Yet look at the transparency we don't have with this group. The 990 IRS form cannot be found online. A school board member who works for the IRS could not even locate it. And yesterday, a school board member from Iredell County put in a request for that form, which shows the salaries that are being paid to the executives that work for the North Carolina School Board Association, and also how much money is coming in that they're making off of the conferences and training, as well as those membership dues that we pay. I think somebody mentioned the $21,350 we had to pay this year for our membership dues just for Buncombe County. Then we have to pay for training, which is very expensive. Just a webinar alone is $125 for one board member. Then if you have to travel to a conference, you've got all those expenses associated with hotel and per diem for food, for meals, as well as the training expense itself. But we couldn't find that information. Lots of board members were looking for this in the past few days. We haven't been able to find that 990 form. My other concern is also that board members can lobby their representatives individually, and it's a highly effective way to get legislation passed. In fact, I have a great example from this year when I asked Representative Nathan Ramsey to increase the flexibility in the way we spend our Article 39 sales tax dollars, and that is money that is designated for construction of schools in Buncombe County alone. This is a special local bill. So he did introduce flexibility in that policy. He introduced a bill in the House of Representatives that we could spend that money on digital technology and teacher professional development, not just construction. And it's about $14 million a year. So this bill did meet resistance in the Senate. Senator Nesbitt, who called it his legacy, did not want it changed. So there was a compromise, and the $5 million we get in lottery money was instead, the flexibility was increased in that, spending that money. So it didn't just go for school construction, but now we can spend it for technology. So that's just what, as one board member started the ball rolling. I'm sure Representative Ramsey met with Superintendent Baldwin about that bill. So it wasn't just me, but I'm just saying that didn't cost the taxpayers $6,000, and that was a bill that has significantly will help Buncombe County schools, the $5 million in lottery funds that we'll be able to spend on technology in our schools. So I don't know. I haven't seen the track record for NCSBA last year as to what bills they actually made happen or they stopped. In fact, speaking of stopping something, Leanne Winter, who's our current lobbyist, announced at several of our district meetings we had in September that the School Board Association opposed a new law that the legislature passed to allow concealed carry weapons in vehicles locked in compartments on campus. This is a big convenience for people who have a concealed carry permit and they have to go pick their child up at school. They can't go home and leave the weapon perhaps, or just it makes a reassurance for teachers that if they have something, if they have a concealed carry permit and they want to keep a weapon in their car to make them feel safer, they are allowed to do that. Well, she announced that we were opposing this bill, and later denied that she had announced this. And I've heard 2 recordings from district meetings where she said we were opposing it. Then she came to the district meeting we had. Several of us were there last week, and she didn't mention the opposition to this bill. It's been all over the news, this turnaround that the School Board Association had, which makes me wonder, can I trust them? Can I trust them not to fund candidates? Even though they say they won't, they are allowed to as a 501c4 organization. You know, I haven't seen any documentation about their expenditures as a 501c3 organization. Will I be able to access financial data on this new action center? I do know that the action center can you know, use those public dollars, as I said, to fund candidates. And also, we will not know, they do not have to reveal their donors. So those businesses Bob is talking about that might donate to that school board center, they may have a vested interest in some legislation, and that might be why they're donating to that action center. But we won't know. They do not have to share that information with the public. And again, this is your public dollars, your tax dollars. It's going to fund a group that may not represent the best interests of the students. Rather, they may be representing the interests of the bureaucracy, of the teachers' lobbying union, rather than what's best for students. So I have lots of questions about this, and I just feel like it's something I cannot support.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
Well, you know, I voted, you know, we're being televised, and I voted against it, which I was, you know, I think I'd rather spend money on this than the television. But I mean, I'm not advocating we shut down the television, but
Okay.
that's we're spending $12,000 to do that or thereabouts. So
I was just to say, obviously, with North Carolina teachers ranked 49th in the nation, in funding, the funding per student, we rank 46th. I mean, we need to change something. We need to increase the awareness. We need advocates that look after public education and the funding. And so I'm going to vote to support this for that reason.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
I do want to emphasize what one of the speakers said earlier. You know, last month, Ms. Churchill said we're on a slippery slope when we start spending $20 for training for a member of the board. And here we are on a slippery slope supporting a political group with tax dollars. The taxpayers have no say in how the money is spent and what it will support, what legislative endeavors it will support. I just feel like this is really something that we should not support. I would also like to ask that Mr. Chairman Reinhardt recuse himself from the vote since he is on the Action Center board.
Okay. I have no problem doing that.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to just make a response to that statement
Okay.
that was made. First of all, with regards to my concerns to spending the $20 for the meeting that we discussed last month, I think that we're discussing apples and oranges here. My reason for being against that meeting was that it was a very exclusive meeting that was by invitation only and was not inclusive of myself or any other board members. So I guess my concern is that there's been an awful lot of my name being thrown around and slippery slope and politics, but I just want to make sure that everybody's very clear as to why I had concerns last month with that meeting. And it was not just the political concerns, it was the exclusiveness of that meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask you a question, because you're in on the ground floor with this, so to speak. The advocacy, and I think I heard, but maybe not, but I think I heard Ms. Baldwin say something to the opposite, but the advocacy for this will be the lobbyist plural in 10 years if it became that, or if it stays as one, whatever it becomes or doesn't become. But the lobbyist is going to lobby for the legislative format that the 115 LEAs of the state of North Carolina come together and meet and agree and vote on, that this is what we think is important for public schools in the state of North Carolina, and we need the legislature to help us with this. And that's what the charge will be from this group to whomever it is that is working for the group. They're working for the LEAs who are working for the students to do the best that we can for the students in the state of North Carolina. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Thank you.
And Ms. Baldwin is correct. I think it's very important that we, as individuals, do all that we can to work with the legislators and let them know how that we feel. But, I mean, having someone that's in Raleigh full-time, whether it's one person or two people, I mean, those people are, indispensable in helping push the voted-on legislative agenda of the North Carolina School Board Association. That is the only thing that we're empowered to do. Outside of that, we're not empowered to do it. I have a proposed budget. I'll be more than happy to share that with anyone that would like a copy of it.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
One more.
Yes.
How often are you guys going to meet?
4 times a year.
And you've met once?
The next meeting will be at the meeting in Greensboro in November when we go down for the. I have also not accepting any reimbursements from that committee also. So all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
And I did not vote.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Next is the Owen High School request to change banks. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Baldwin, I think you had a question.
Yes, I was concerned about the high service fees on the account. Let me get to that page.
And I'll agree with that.
Yeah, and it looks like they want to change banks to lower the service fees, but the current fees are $1,800 in 2010, $1,500 then in 2011, $1,300 in 2012, 13, I mean. And now they're going to cut these fees in half to about $500 to $600 per year. Can we not find a bank that doesn't charge fees, or at least, beg them and say, this is education dollars that you're taking as service fees? I don't know if they're overdrawn on their accounts, if that's why this is happening. I don't know if anybody has an explanation, if there's somebody here from the finance office that can address this issue.
Well, my guess is there's probably, you have to maintain a minimum amount to, but I would certainly encourage, all the schools to work as best they can to try to get those service fees down as low as possible. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I have a business account for my 4-H club, and as long as, I have to pay any service fees. And we have less than $100 in there. I don't know if there's a different type of account that schools have to have, but I've never incurred a service fee.
Well, why don't we encourage the administration to check into that and see if maybe there's a group deal we can come up with so that maybe everyone can do that. Okay.
Can we
all right.
table this?
Everybody.
Can we go ahead and pass
Yes,
this?
I mean we can certainly go ahead and vote on this, and but I think going forward, I think it's important that we. Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah, I have a question for Dr. Bowen. And being in the Booster Club when I was in it at Irwin, I know that after certain events and nights and the way money is handled at schools and the laws on night deposits and some of those kind of things, is it possible that some of the expense of the accounts have to do with the unique nature of having to get money into and out of the banks, or do you know?
I would agree with that based on my experience when I was principal at Reynolds High School and actually being the one that took that night deposit after football games. I do think there's variance there. Something we'll be glad to look into as an entire system. I know that Owen would need this approval, and it certainly makes sense. They're cutting fees significantly in order that they can write checks.
Stay in business.
And stay in business, that's right.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, we will ask the administration to look into that, and all in favor of approving this, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, moving on to the consent agenda, we have removed the Irwin High School intent to purchase fire alarms, and we have an addendum to the personnel and an addendum to the student transfers and releases. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I move acceptance of the consent agenda.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. So we
Mr.
have.
Chair, would it be appropriate to point out that we pulled the Irwin High School intent to purchase fire alarm system, but that's going to be on the agenda next month. It's not been pulled and removed.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. The purchasing officer is in a conference in Raleigh, and he couldn't be here to answer questions. That's why we're going to hold off. And this is not a time-sensitive issue,
Right.
so holding off till November is not a problem. So we'll wait till Mr. Venturella is back, and we'll put that on the November agenda. Coming up, we have the Countywide Advisory Council meeting at Reynolds High School, October the 15th at 6 o'clock. Our next Board of Education meeting will be on my birthday, November the 7th. So it's going to be an exciting birthday. And then we have the North Carolina School Board Association Annual Convention in Greensboro is the November the 17, 18, and 19th, I believe. I believe everyone will be attending that. And then I think that's it. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yeah.